Welcome to the Man Fire Podcast, where we inspire men to bring more fire to their lives. This is episode number 9, Worn and Rusted, the Dream of Early Retirement. This summer, I dipped into my investments to buy something I've always wanted, 8.5 acres of undeveloped land in the Rocky Mountains. There's a year-round stream running through the property, a natural meadow with wild strawberries, signs of large game I can't wait to see, a view down the valley the miners so thoughtfully created with a shelf of debris, and an endless supply of rocks to build with. The nearest utility is 1.5 miles down the Forest Service road, and by the time I've climbed that distance to my sanctuary, I'm quite content leaving the grid at the bottom of the hill. As a boy, we never hiked far enough into the wilderness to satisfy me. I always wanted those treks to delve deeper and last a little longer. And now that it's up to me to allocate the time and grant permission for such adventures, I intend to give the young boy in me plenty of what he's always wanted. Hand tools are a must for this place. The thought of firing up a generator and filling the trees with the sound of power tools feels rude and hostile in my ears. I get plenty of that in the city already. This is a place for the quiet, rhythmic motion of a bow saw and the gentle thud of an axe burying itself in wood grain. Laugh at my naive ambitions if you like, but nothing trims and pumps your body the way these tools do at 10,000 feet. The city has its place in my life as well, and this past Halloween, it provided for me another unlikely treasure. I was attending a costume party in a house that had just been purchased, and the resident celebrity chef was a good friend of mine. While out in the garage hunting for a better drink mixer, my eyes landed on an old Stanley handsaw, sitting alone on a high shelf. No one lived in this house yet, and this dirty, rusted piece of hardware was one of those 2 or 3 items that inevitably gets left behind when one owner moves out, and the next couldn't care less about the previous history. I thought of my retreat in the mountains and asked if the new owners wanted this orphan for themselves. They hadn't even noticed its existence and didn't hesitate to leave it out in the rain for me to pick up at my convenience. The shoulder season gave way early this year, and with it, my window of productivity in the hills. But when it came time to build the Man Fire stage, my new steel friend volunteered to step out of retirement and teach me a few lessons. The first lesson was square cuts are hard when you're used to using a power saw. You can't hold the board the same way you used to, or get away with a quick tick of the pencil for your length. Hand tools require more thoughtful, complete preparation, and that an attention span be maintained to the very end of the task. This shift to front sight focus brought me more into the moment and appreciated the value of the growing stack of 2x4s next to me because of how much my hands had touched them. As the steady rhythm of the saw carried on, time rejoined timelessness, and I gave way to the wisdom of the flow of the work. The next morning, I was surprised how unaffected my arms and hands were from the labor, and even more delighted at the ache in my core at the slightest twist of the waist. I don't know who owned this saw before me, or what its handle looked like before all the shellac was worn off. I'd like to think there was an old man somewhere who, for no apparent reason, felt extra lively in his step one day when his abandoned saw was put back to work. What I do know now is there are hazards in early retirement, and that every tool dreams of being worn out long before they rust out. If you like this message, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Man Fire Movement on YouTube. You can also listen to the Manfire podcast in your favorite podcast player. And finally, visit manfiremovement.com for live events and workshops.